standing room up here on the top deck if you want. Come up those stairs there. There's standing room along the back rail. Standing room along the back rail on the second deck here. And I'll take a quick look at the bow. We've got a fairly full boat. It's the Portland Line. There's standing room on the bow on the second deck way forward. Ireland or Denmark? Denmark. Ireland concedes. Anyone further away than Denmark? Further away than Denmark. On the last trip, we went from New Jersey to down. The Yankees cap's going down. Don't you worry about that. I got that one covered. All right, I think Burma's going to win this one unless there's somebody in. Oh, right over here. Warn you about the horn. It's 10 times louder than if I had warned you. So there's the horn, by the way. Watch out for that. 1 long, 3 short means we're backing out. If you're behind us, you better get on Castle Island or on her way out there. On 4th of July, the USS Constitution comes out and does her annual turnaround tour and fires a 21-gun salute at Castle Island. And there are a whole bunch of people out there who have no idea. They're just sitting there aimlessly on the grass. They are going to certainly be under fire. So it'll be a good time for most. So let me get the safety announcement out of the way because that's the most exciting part of the tour. It's all downhill from there. We are a Coast Guard certified vessel. We have life jackets for each and every one of you, and specially marked lockers throughout the boat in case of an unlikely water landing. Please follow the directions of the captain, the crew, the guy talking the loudest. That's always me. Please, no running. There's nowhere to go. Where are you going to go? It's a beautiful day. Stay with me on the boat. And there's nothing soft to land on, not if, but when you fall. So please, no running. And please use the handrails as you go up and down the stairs. They are your best friend on a boat. Please no smoking of any kind. That's all those E things. I don't even know what they are anymore. To make smoke, just don't. How's that? All right? So, let's get underway with our tour. Let me start by introducing my 2 themes that I weave in and out of my tour. The first one, Bostonians' lack of creativity when it came to naming things. Just default to the obvious. So you all got on the boat from Long Wharf over here on the right-hand side, the starboard side, where all these people just watched the Constitution go by and they're wishing they were on our boat, but they're not. That is a Long Wharf, takes its name from the obvious. It was in fact a wicked long wharf when it was built. It is the oldest continuously used wharf in the nation. It was built back in 1710, and at that time that wharf was almost half a mile long. Now you look at it now and you say, David, what are you on? I'll have what you're having. Clearly it's only a couple hundred yards. And that leads me to my second theme, because I love segues. That is the amount of man-made land there is around the city of Boston. This will be the most extraordinary thing you learn on this tour until I come up with something else. Boston is literally built on 75% man-made land. You look off every side of the boat. We'll help you with that as we turn in just a moment. You look off every side in the water, it's all man-made land. Over there, over there, over there, over there, doesn't matter where. And there's my friend Liz, wrapping up her tour. We're on the best one. We're going to see the cannons. All right. So, 75% of Boston sits on man-made land. You'll be tossing in your sleep with that phrase, man-made land, for a couple of weeks to come. So, Boston was founded on the Shawmut Peninsula, a little spit of land that stuck out into this massive harbor, which was very hilly, very rocky, not good for farming. So the colonists said, well fine, we'll farm that instead, looking at the ocean, meaning they'll become fishermen, farmers of the seas. They'll become shipbuilders because you can't go fishing without ships, all of which is waterfront business, right? And the Shawmut Peninsula did not have enough actual waterfront. So they began to build out the city of Boston. They built all of these wharves we see here. They were all much longer than they are now. They built wharves out of the harbor. They built walls in between the wharves up by the land. They would push dirt into that space, displacing the water, creating land. They pushed in more dirt after they built the next wall, create more land, and this was known as the wharfing out of Boston. And I'm going to tell you where all that dirt came from a little bit later on in the tour. Right now, I want to draw your attention off to the starboard side. Look through the mast of these little sailboats here, and you'll see a rusty iron bridge. That is the Northern Avenue Bridge, a turnstile bridge conveniently stuck in the open and broken position, and it allows us a view down Fort Point Channel where we find Griffin's Wharf, the very site of the Boston Tea Party. Anyone visiting from the UK? willing to admit it? Nope. They're still on the ship. I'll show you the ship in a minute. So, the Boston Tea Party took place down here on December 16, 1773. The colonists came down, they boarded 3 Nantucket merchant ships, and they dumped 92,000 pounds of tea into Boston Harbor, all the while yelling, "No taxation without representation." Look at that. So 92,000 pounds of tea went into the harbor, and you know what happened? They poisoned all the fish. They had no idea that tea was poisonous to fish. So now they couldn't fish this harbor for about a year. That's how much tea had been dumped in the harbor. 92,000 pounds of something that weighs absolutely nothing. I mean, you think about that for a second. 92,000 pounds of nothing. I mean, that's a lot of tea. And for those of you who remember Salada tea, that will be funny. Thank you. I'm here all week. She hits her son. That was so funny. Bam! So we're going to take a duck in here into Rose Wharf here and take a look at the very site. I told you about the Tea Party, forgetting we were going to make a detour because the ship is out there now. So we're modifying our tour because we want to see the cannons go off out on the ship out at Castle Island. So we're going to take a look. You'll get a much closer view of the Boston Tea Party ships and museum. And we can do a little pop quiz, I think. Can anyone name the 3 ships involved in the Boston Tea Party? And let me help you with the first wrong answer. It was not the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. Everyone always, you say 3 ships and they go right there. No, the Beaver, in fact, was an ancestor of mine. His name was Hezekiah Coffin. What a great name for someone else. I'll stick with David. That works for me. So we're going to head up in here, and right in front of us, you see the big archway. You'll see it once we turn, so don't worry about it. You'll see a big archway. This is the Boston Harbor Hotel and Residence, and it's known as Rose Wharf, R-O-W-E-S, named for way out in the distance before a lot of that land out there got built. So you could actually see this. And in the wintertime, it's a pretty fun place to come down. They build a small ice rink, and I stress the word small. They put a Santa Claus on skates on that ice rink, and that's about all there's room for. Santa. Maybe one small child who's a good skater who can stay out of the way. But that is the smallest ice rink in the world, I think, under that archway in January, February. Pretty fun place to be. And now as we turn, you'll see the Boston Tea Party ships and museums. You'll see 2 of the 3 replica ships. That's the Eleanor and the Beaver, and they're still harvesting the wood down East Maine to build the Dartmouth, the replica ship. But that's where it all took place. You can go visit the museum there, and you can dump tea over the side of one of those ships. Everyone, and you'll all be yelling, "Dump the tea! Dump the tea!" And you'll throw these little bags of tea. They have a line on it, so you can haul it back in for the next people. It's recyclable. That tea pile here too. And this was designed by an architect, I.M. Pei, and he designed an enormous amount of buildings around the world. This sloping glass front here is actually to represent the wave of justice crashing down on the city of Boston. Or if you prefer, the transparency in our judicial system. Whichever one works for you, works for me. Now this is only 9 years ago. That was the tallest building in this entire area. I have literally watched every building taller than that one get built over the past 9 years. I've been out here for 20 years, so from this very boat, I've watched all of these buildings get built. And just to prove to you how much influence I have on the construction of these buildings, if you look up ahead, you'll see a brand new building here. There are 3 buildings here. Another misnamed wharf. This is Pier 4, but it's a wharf, so go figure. But you see this building here, I asked them to angle the end of the building downwards a little bit, so as we came by, we'd be able to see a reflection of ourselves in the glass, which we're about to do. And there we are. What a lovely crowd of people we are. And that is a new brand of selfie. Making her way back down to Charlestown. But we will see her. She's now up ahead and on the left. And when we get near her, don't worry. So I'm going to keep going with the tour until we get a little closer to the ship, and then I'll dive into the ship, as it were. We're still cruising along South Boston. Hard to be talking about rocks and earth and land and stuff when there's a beautiful ship coming around the bend. So the USS Constitution over there, 42-gun frigate, never carried less than 50 guns. She is the oldest commissioned warship afloat in the entire world, and a real sight to see. And she got underway. You see she's got one of her stations set. There's virtually no wind, so no harm in putting the sail up. Now the Constitution earned her undying fame and of course her famous nickname, which of course they're not. They're made of 22-inch thick Georgia live oak, but strong enough wood to repel or stick any cannonball of the day. I say stick, because at the end of that battle there were 19 cannonballs stuck in her sides. So the cannonballs stuck, and so did the nickname, Old Ironsides. Down in front, please. That is the Liberty Clipper, our neighbor over at Long Wharf. Blocking our view! I mean, it's a pretty ship and all, but come on, guys. All's fair out here on the harbor. So she earned her undying fame and her famous nickname, Old Ironsides. Constitution never lost a single one of her 42 battles. That is Boston's only undefeated team, folks, right there. You can make everything about sports. Now, I don't often get a chance to do this, but when the ship is out in the harbor, I like to tell people about a poem that was written when the ship was actually headed for the scrapyard back in 1832. The Navy didn't have the funds to refurbish the ship, which she really needed a lot of work done. So she was headed for the scrapyard, but all the kids around the country in elementary school, they sent pennies into the Navy, and they actually raised enough money to salvage the ship. But while that was happening, nobody really knew they were going to get all that money. Oliver Wendell Holmes, he was a Harvard professor at the time, wrote a poem called Old Ironsides, commemorating the ship's life and service in the United States Navy. So I was asked to be on board the turnaround cruise like those people are now back in the late 1990s, and I took the opportunity to take that poem and set it to music. So it was a chance for me to collaborate with Oliver Wendell Holmes. So since the ship is out here underway here, I thought I would share that song with you because it's a lovely poem. So here we go. I get to collaborate with Oliver Wendell Holmes. Old Ironsides. I tear her tattered ensign down, long as it waved on high, and many an eye has danced to see that banner in the sky. Beneath it rung the battle shout, and burst the cannon's roar. The meteor of the ocean air shall sweep the clouds no more. The decks are once red with heroes brave. Nail to the mast her holy flag, and set every threadbare sail, and give her to the god of storms, the lightning and the gale. Old Ironside. Thank you. And now back to our tour. It's a lot. Then they ran out of dirt. We probably saw that coming. So being resourceful, as we know they were, they went southwest of Boston to the town of Needham. Needham had a whole bunch of hills. Somebody said, take the hills. We don't need them. Sorry. And all that. Mary 2 was built. That was the largest cruise ship in the world. Now it's not even close, but it's probably one of the most luxurious. Having never been on it, I can safely say that. Downtown Boston. And the largest one, right off the stern of the Queen Mary 2, that is the building formerly known, I love saying this, formerly known as the Hancock Tower, the large glass panel building. That's the tallest building in New England, so obviously tallest in Boston. But the plywood tower, very embarrassing for the Hancock Company, so they sued the window company, as one does. The lawsuit quietly settled out of court when they realized that the window company was insured by Hancock. The best funny true story I didn't have to make up. Now here we are at Castle Island, and we have some survivors of all the cannon blasts on the Constitution. That's good to see. And you'll see they've still got one of the cannons there. There were actually 3 earlier this morning. There were 3 cannons over there. I guess they've taken 2 of them away. That's my math, at least. But this is where the Constitution comes out and fires off a 21-gun salute. Now this is Fort Independence here, but it sits on what we still call today the island with the rock retaining wall. I want you to see those two things, because those two things feature very prominently in one of the greatest turnaround stories here in the city of Boston. This is known as the cleanup of Boston Harbor. This is a subject I'm quite passionate about. As you can imagine, I spent half a year not only on the harbor, but actually in the harbor as well. My first swim this year was back in March, right around at Wells Street Beach. Now it is the most transformed island in the harbor. It's 172 feet high. It's 36 acres bigger. That's 10 Gillette stadiums, just for reference. So, back in the early 1900s, Boston and the city of Quincy, down on the South Shore, would use Spectral Island as a garbage dump. There's nothing going on out here. Let's dump our trash out here. So they did. They dumped all their trash out there for the next 50 years. That is a lot of trash. Feel that wind pick up as we turn the wheel? A lot of that trash ended up pushing the trash off the top of that hill. So it's safe off there now. The bulldozer sank into the trash. I just never seen it yet. That was the end of dumping trash out here. There was simply no more room. So they lost the dozer. They saved the driver, don't worry. So then they realized, well, 50 years later, there's a big mess out here. Maybe we should clean this up. So what do you think they did to clean up all that trash? Anybody? What did they do? It's really an amazing transformation story. So with that, I'm going to take just a couple minutes to break in the narration, lead you all to the sights and sounds of the harbor. We can still see the Constitution up ahead. Courageous sailing, Lieutenant. You have to be very courageous to sail out here. Right away, that's not a stadium. That is the expansion of Terminal E over at Logan Airport. Not Terminal E, but Terminal E at Logan Airport. Very much alive and well. Some of you youngsters are writing that down. Oh, I could use that. So just to even things out, a little later on, I'll give you last date material as well. It's important, you know, first and last. But right now we have a great opportunity. Look off to the right. You see those little houses? They're set back off the water. Little windows, little houses off the water. Those houses were built when this harbor was disgusting. So the windows are really small. Nobody wanted to be part of this. It doesn't go under sail anymore. This is a floating oyster bar. How fun would that be? I'm talking about the big ship with the mast, not the bicycle boat here. There are a whole bunch of people sitting at a counter, drinking heavily and pedaling really hard. And the further they go into the trip, the slower the boat goes. to the point where the paddle wheel on the back, I've actually seen it spinning around. It's not even in the water. Now, if you're taking pictures, folks, please don't hold your camera phone or what have you over the side of the rail, because the first cannon will startle you, and I don't want it to startle the camera.
It's done, right?
More than the one I did this morning. She's headed for the Charlestown Navy Yard right down there, which is very residential. A whole bunch of condominium complexes down there. And every night, of course, she fires her cannon at sunset, and every morning at 8 o'clock, she fires her cannon. That is the tradition every day, every morning, 8 o'clock, and every night at sunset. So the condominium association decided this is too much. I will check with him. So we're back over here on the starboard side, and I want to draw your attention to that tall building with the two clocks on it. There are two clocks on the back. That is the Custom House Tower. It was built back in 1914. That was the American Revolution. Today it's considered the cradle of tourism. 18 million visitors a year. It overlooks the Copper Dome of Quincy Market, the first open-air market in the nation. And a couple of blocks to the right in the neighborhood, you will find the oldest continuously operated restaurant in the nation, the Union Oyster House, where Daniel Webster used to belly up to the bar and down with dozens of oysters, holding court.
Artist type, like.
So I talked about all this man-made land, and I want to show you just how Long Wharf used to be when it was originally built. We're coming back into Long Wharf here. Off to the right, it's got a flagpole on the end. And as we come abeam of that flagpole, line it up down the middle of the wharf, and you're going to see another gold dome with the sun shining on the top as requested. That will be the old State House built at the other end. Later of their injuries, and the next morning's paper, Paul Revere proclaimed Boston Massacre. 5 is too many, of course, but not exactly a massacre, but any propaganda is worth it. So one of the many sparks of the revolution happened right here, the Boston Massacre, and then right over there, the Boston Tea Party, all happening right here in Boston. So one more building I want to point out as we come back into Long Wharf, it is the New England Aquarium. Is going to be on our left, on our port side. A great example of brutalist architecture, which is a term I thought I had made up until I actually realized, no, that's actually the term. So I must have known that somehow, I don't know. But that is the actual term for that design. It looks like it was a block of concrete brutally dropped on Central Wharf. We have a wonderful partnership. We run the whale watch boats at the aquarium, and that is home to 3,000 species of fish, 20,000 animals, and of course the stunningly beautiful celebrity of Boston, 550-pound, almost 100 years old today, Myrtle the turtle. She is a wonder to behold. So, we are making our way back into Long Wharf. I'm going to invite you to look around and make sure you have all your belongings. We hold a huge yard sale in October, selling all of your belongings, which we don't really want to do. So check around your space, make sure you got all your stuff, And I want to thank the captain and crew of the Nolan, but most of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out on this beautiful 4th of July Monday and spending a little time with me out here on the harbor and learning about Boston from the harbor perspective. Boston's a harbor town, a city built on the waterfront, and I think the harbor perspective is really important, and not enough people make that choice. So thank you for coming out. Thank you for giving me someone to talk to. I've been home talking to myself for 2 years now, so it's really nice to be out of the house and back on the boat. So have a great rest of your 4th of July vacation here, and thank you all very much. I'm David Coffin still. I'll be on the gangway as you get off the boat. Thank you all.